Hi YouTube, it's me again. Okay, so what's today? Today is the second day of my job search vlog. And what will I be discussing today? Well, today I'm going to be discussing my job search. Um, I'm going to go back in history for a little bit. A couple of years ago, I did an internship with Human Rights Watch. I assisted the event coordinator at Human Rights Watch. This was, I think, in 2005. And my goal then, and it has always been to be an event coordinator. And I took some time off and I had to do other things. But that passion for event planning and event coordinating never died. And I do have some experience prior to 2005 and leading up to 2005 with event planning and event coordinating. And because that desire of mine, that dream of mine to do event planning never died, I decided that now is the time to really to go back and lay the foundation for, well, build on the foundation, sorry, for event planning and event coordinating. I love events, and I've always been, my entire life, I've always been a people person. I have always been a people person. That's just the kind of person that I've always been. And I'm not going to allow negativity and negative people to change the way that I am and to change the way, to change the kind of person that I am. What's different between then and now? The difference between then and now, or what occurred between then and now, is that it allowed me to reflect on, it allowed me to discover different aspects of myself, both negative and positive. And that time away from event planning allowed me to discover the negative aspects about myself and the positive aspects about myself. Um, and it allowed me to really begin to hone in on what is positive and let's see, begin to eliminate some of the negative things, you know. Um, so with reference to then and now, what am I going to do different now? Well, I don't mind sharing this because I am putting it out there. What I'm going to do different now? Well, my goal now is, my short-term goal now is to try to look for an event coordinating, assistant event coordinator, maybe an internship, or if not an internship, because finances may not be, may not facilitate me to be an intern, um, possibly working as an assistant, administrative assistant in the event coordinating department. And as much as I was trying, as much as I don't want to get back into a suit, you know, I think I might have to get back into a suit, you know, so I have to, like, you know, do some exercises and, you know, shrink down a little bit, you know, shrink down a little bit and do some exercises and get back in shape because I'm getting a little pudgy in some areas, you know. But yeah, and get back in the suit. So, and that's not gonna, you know, in life as you grow older, you know, you have to make changes and you have to, you know, you have to conform with society's standards. You know, if you know you want to do something and they require that you know, you look a certain way and you act a certain way, then that's the requirements. That's just the way it is. You know, you can't join the military and tell them, hey, listen, I want to wear a tutu. You know what I mean? The generals are going to look at you like, huh? You know? So anyway, but so it allowed me to just really reflect on things that I want to do and what do I need to do to get those things done. And I don't mind sharing it with the world. I mean, I don't. So I decided that I can take two courses. I can work part-time and do an internship part-time, or I can do or I can look for event coordinating assistant jobs where I do the administrative work, and it would allow me to get the necessary skills that I need, because I'm in event coordinating. I did the work, but there are areas in which that I believe that I need to become more adept, you know, like purchasing and negotiating more with vendors. I mean, I've done that before, but it's been years since I've done it, negotiating with vendors, contract negotiations, which is really good. Um, let's see what else. Like set production, like, how, designing sets, that kind of thing. I don't know, I don't do the graphics end of it, like some people, some event planners, they have like a graphics department, or they're capable in graphics where they can literally like illustrate what the client wants. And that's really, really, really high-end boutique event planning. And maybe, one day I'll get there, or that kind of thing. So these are some of the areas that I think that I need more work, and I need to develop more. So I think that either something like working in administration. I mean, I have a diploma in project management, but I want to do project management with events. That's what I want to do. I want to do project management with events, and I wouldn't mind working in events uh, with in a corporation. I really don't mind. So I'm thinking one and two things. It's either I work part-time and I do an internship part-time, or I work full-time as an assistant to the event coordinator or the director as an administrative assistant, and it would allow me to get the necessary skills in some of the areas that I need. I think that's kind of the approach that I'm looking at. Um, the other thing is, the other aspect is, the education aspect, because it's not just, planning corporate events. You can do, meetings, planning different kinds of meetings, then there's all different kinds of events. There's trade shows, there's colloquiums, there's business meetings, there's Senate meetings, there's a whole host of different kinds of events, And then on a corporate level, there's a whole host of types of events that that you can do. So in that respect, I think that before I just jump into it, I think that I would fare better if I were to put in the necessary foundation again to make sure that, I'm adept at what I'm doing. And even though, you will probably get training, I at least know the basics. And two, build upon what I already know. There's always room for improvement. But that's basically what I would like to do. I would really like to do event planning on a corporate level, or event planning for, like a large event space, that kind of thing, that caters to specific kinds of clientele. And I'm looking towards, and I'm just going to be quite honest, I'm looking to work with high-end clientele. That is what I want to do. And I can either go the route of doing event planning for, like government agencies, because they have an event planning department or agency, or a corporate event planning department. And that's where my focus is. So my objectives today I went out and I just my goal today was to just go over some of the areas in which, most people today don't, do the footwork when they're looking for work. But, I went out and I did some footwork, because it's been a while since I've been like, on the New York scene, and just talked, I spoke to people, and that kind of thing, to kind of get the feel for what, for the area, for the kind of place, that kind of thing. And I did a bit of footwork today, and the response is very nice. It just reminded me how there are a lot of just very beautiful people in New York, very nice people, very hospitable, always willing to help. And not everyone is necessarily, an enemy kind of thing, So, so I did a bit of footwork today, and I went around to some places in New York. One of the best ways, if you want to go into event planning, one of the best ways to do so is the restaurant scene in New York. Again, the restaurant scene is one of those places that's just like, it's just a baptism. When you come to New York, it's just, and what's interesting is that the restaurant industry in New York, I'm not sure about this today, but I observed, like when I was into the restaurant scene, it was really, really, really thriving. But when I went today, I was like, oh my God, what's going on with the restaurant scene in New York? And it's evolving, but it's kind of like, what's going on with the restaurant scene in New York, Manhattan especially had a really robust restaurant scene. And when I went back today, a lot of the places that I knew, they were gone. And now today is just, boutique shops. That's not in the hospitality industry. So I was just kind of taken aback. And I don't know if there's anything replacing it, whether it's hotels that's replacing it, or in the hospitality industry that's replacing it. So I did a little bit of footwork today, and I was just very surprised to see that a lot of the really, really, really good social scene type restaurants, they're gone. So I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, so I went down to the street, Wall Street, and I did a bit of walking around, to see the scene and to get a feel of like, kind of like, what's going on and that kind of thing. And I think the feedback was pretty good. So I think I'll just day three tomorrow. I'm just gonna go in and see if they have any openings and see if I can just turn on the charm and hi, speak to any of the managers and see if they're hiring. So one of the ways in which I decided to go about this is going back into the restaurant scene, because that's just one of the fastest ways. Because going into the restaurant scene, if you want to get into like things like event planning, a major component of event planning is your knowledge of food and wine, which it's been years. My knowledge of wine is like out the door, and my knowledge of fine dining, my knowledge of cuisine is just kind of like escargot, it's been a while. It's been a while, so I have to do my homework. So but then again, I can learn the menu like that. It's like, give me like a week and I'll get the menu. And give me like maybe 2 weeks and I'll just get the basics for the wine. I mean, I had a good knowledge of wines, a decent knowledge of wines before. Now it's been years. So a major component, I don't want to sound like I'm rambling, but a major component of event planning is food and wine. It's not just the facility, it's not just the setup, the decor. It's not just the setup, it's not just the decor, but a major element of it is, food and wine. And that's a major selling point when you're doing sales in event planning. So I was thinking, why not just go around to these like really nice places in New York and get back into the restaurant scene, and that way I can just improve the basics of my knowledge of food and wine and hospitality, like the service industry. And it's really interesting because today I was thinking, after I walked around and that kind of thing, I said, I was thinking today to do a video on just working class people and, and just how important, working class people are to the backbone of the economy, and how working class people are so just overlooked. And I was really contemplating. I said, let me I'm going to do a video on working class people. But then I said, yeah, I might bore everyone. So I decided, scratch that, Then I decided to just make it into like a job search vlog. But, when I went back and I was thinking and I looked around the people, in Manhattan, I was in Brooklyn, I said to myself, I was like, it's like the people you overlook every single day, these are the drivers of the economy, the economy, we're really, really focused on the big boys, the big boys with the big pockets, and I'm not against the big boys, I'm not against their deep pockets, but a major component of society is the working class, and it's amazing, like every little job they do, it adds up to this massive economy that the US has, so big shout out to working class people all over the world, all over the country. Keep up the good work, So anyway, so I decided today that so I was going to go around and get a feel, of like the environment, what's going on. And I stopped on the street, Wall Street, and to see, like, restaurants and stuff like that around there. And the people were very hospitable, very nice, and I miss that about New York. I miss, even though New York is a rough and tumble kind of city, what I missed about New York is that it's a rough and tumble kind of city, but if you're cool, people are cool with you, that kind of thing. And I got to experience that again in New York City, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so my objectives, today was to objectives today was to scour the restaurant scene and see what's going on. And the goal of that is, how can I use the restaurant scene? How can I incorporate, I don't want to say the word use, but incorporate what I want to relearn about the restaurant scene that can help me facilitate my long-term goals. And part of that is three components, the food, the wine, or food, beverage, food, beverage, and hospitality. And one thing that, when I was in the restaurant scene, and I loved it, because most people are just like, they don't really think much about the restaurant scene, but I do. I loved it. I really, really loved it, because it's one of the most fabulous ways to meet the most interesting, beautiful people from all walks of life, and watch them have this amazing experience with food, with decor, with hospitality, that kind of thing. So anyway, so I did that today, and I came to the conclusion that one of the fastest ways is through the restaurant industry would help me to basically accomplish my long-term goals, which is event coordinating, and get the necessary skills that I need for food and beverage, and just brush up on my hospitality skills, that kind of thing. And these skills, hospitality skills is like, we call it customer service, right? But hospitality skills, it's really hospitality, but we call it customer service. Customer service skills is something that is really, really, really incredible, and these skills can take you, it can take you further than where your degree can take you. Just simply, knowing the name of someone who is important, or not even important, just knowing the names of your clientele, and being, showing decorum, and showing, a level of respect and care, that they don't get, when they're out in the street. And skills like these can go can take you much further than having a degree. Being polite, which is a rare trait, by the way. Being polite and being respectful and being, just a little bit of care can take you much further than having, how many letters after your name, And this is one of the things I noticed about New York, paying a little bit more attention to a person when you're working, just paying a little bit more attention, giving a person a little bit more attention than they usually get. And I remember this when I used to work, with my former boss. He was just like, he was big on caring for the customers. I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he's going to agree to being in my video. But he always emphasized this level of care for the customers. Whether they were rich and infamous, or they were just the average person. To him, it was very, very, very important. It was not just about the food. And this man was a master. I am Caribbean. Okay, I'm from Caribbean. You cannot tell me about spice. Okay, I'm Caribbean. Okay, you cannot tell me about spice. Because if it's a spice, we consume it. Okay, but this man, who is European, he was a master when it came to spice. When you try his food, I was like, is he black? Like, where did he learn to cook food like this, Anyway, But what I loved about him is that he had this attention to detail when it came to the clients that I loved. And it wasn't the kind of attention to detail that was, overbearing, but it was the kind of attention to detail when it came to the clients that every time the clients walked out, they never spoke about the food, which was incredible by itself. They always spoke about the experience. And this is something that I loved, that I learned about the restaurant industry. And you can't get this with a degree. This is something you get from someone who's really a master at what they do. And I was really lucky to have worked with one of the master chefs in the world. So anyway, so whenever, the clients left, whether they were some high, powerful, you know, whoever, whatever, we got everyone, or they were just a regular person taking their family out or whatever, they always came back and they always spoke about the experience. you know you would think that they would come back and speak about how amazing the food was. And this man, when it came to spice, I was like, are you black, brother? You season food like my mother. And this man is like European, but he had a spice hand like he was from I don't know where. He had a hand for spice, okay? But when the clients left, it was they would always rave about the experience. And that's what he wanted. He said, no, when they come here, it's not food, it's the experience. The moment they walk in the door, they have to feel like they're in a different place. So this is something that I loved about the restaurant industry. And I'm not sure that I still have this gift. So I think I need training. So I decided to get this kind of training for me to accomplish what I need to do. I have to go back. And some would say, oh, Renata, you're stepping down, you're going back. No, I know what I want to do, and I know the objectives that I want to execute. And in order for me to do so, I realize that I'm rusty in certain places. And one of those places would be I need more work in that area. I need more work in the what is it? The hospitality area, the actual hospitality area. Which is hospitable, which is likeness, which is, that kind of thing. So I think that going back into the restaurant industry, maybe fine dining, that kind of thing, would allow me to rebuild those skills again and fine tune my skills on food and beverage and that kind of thing. And it would allow me to transition into what I want to do. And I have a lot of people saying to me, Renata, that's a step back. But I don't think it's a step back in my objectives. If I want to do event planning, I have to brush up on those three areas: my knowledge of food, my knowledge of beverage, and customer service. But not just your regular customer service that's over the phone. It's a different kind of customer service. It's kind of, it's not the customer service where, okay, my product is broken, you need a technician to fix it. Let's just transfer your call to the right technician so they can fix the problem. It's not that kind of customer service. That's why I think it's more hospitality than it is customer service, right? It's the kind of service that you have to have a relationship with the client. And the clients have to like you, and the clients have to want you. Because that's one of the things that I also was exposed to when I was in fine dining. One of the beautiful things is, when these customers came in, they always had a maitre d' that they wanted. They always had a hostess that they wanted. I mean, they were really, 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 really particular in what they wanted. And they always had what is it? A waiter. They always had a waiter that they wanted. And sometimes they always had a particular manager. And especially when it came to the sommelier, which is the wine guy or wine lady, they always had a particular sommelier that they wanted. So these are things. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. The phone just had to ring, right? Anyway, so they always had a particular, like, okay, I want this hostess to take me to my table. I want this maitre d'. I want this waiter to serve me. I want this sommelier. And when you're in the restaurant industry, you overlook these kinds of things and you just think, eh. But when knowing, looking back now in retrospect, I realize, that's all a part of the experience. It's all a part of the what is it? What we call hospitality. I love the hospitality industry, but I don't particularly want to be 100% in the hospitality industry. But I want some of the elements, some of the really positive elements that I've learned from the hospitality industry, and transition some of those learning points from the hospitality industry into what I want to do. So that's basically my objective with my job search. One of the other things I was thinking is, with this video, I wanted to know if anyone had any particular what's the word I'm looking for? If there's anything you'd like to, any input, perhaps maybe a way in which I can go about doing it, any idea of how I can go about doing it. But my end goal is to get into corporate event planning, either corporate event planning or government event planning. So that's one of the two. So be an event planner for either city, state, or federal, a government, or and that would be more like a meeting planner and that kind of thing. Or they do events too. Or work with like some city agencies, like the parks department. They have a major event planning department. They also have I think they also have an event planning department with the city itself, that I don't necessarily think they're with through the parks department. Or even like corporate event planning, planning the events, their trade shows, that kind of thing. And that's something that I am also interested in looking at. So those are the two areas in which I want to branch off to. So because I know a lot of people will say, why don't you just go to hospitality school, or go study like event plan? What is it? Like go to hospitality school. I don't particularly want to do that, because I don't want to limit myself to just event planning. But this is an area in which I would like to. This is an area I've always loved, and this is an area in which I wanted to really, really, really go into, because I think it's something that I'm good at, and that's something that I wanted to do. Okay, so the second thing that I wanted to speak about today is okay. So I'm gonna keep track. I'm gonna track you guys. Keep tracking my job search vlog, and let you guys know exactly what's going on, how I'm getting along with my job search, and let you know when I find something new. Where, but I'll let you know when I find something new. Let's see. And I hope you guys will be rooting for me. Let's see what else. What else I wanted to cover? I think that's about it, right? And also, I just wanted to just give a shout out to the city workers. I remember like a couple of days ago with the snowstorm. It was horrible. I mean, oh my God, I think we had a whiteout where I was. I actually walked like halfway down the block and almost got stuck in the snow because I couldn't see. The snow was just beating against my face and I didn't have shades on. It was beating, so much against my face, I couldn't even see. And I was just halfway down the block. It was so bad. And when I was outside, I saw that these guys are just like plowing through the snow. And I was just like, hey, and I just wanted to give them, just a shout out, because it's like when everyone is home, I mean, the working class people, this is not a rant against the wealthy, okay? Because the country's already polarized. I'm not trying to polarize the country. I just want to give a little bit of credit to, those city workers, the police, the fire department, the EMS, EMTs. I mean, these people, the nurses, doctors, civil servants, some of them, while we're home, in a snowstorm, these guys have to be out there. And we just don't care. We don't care because we're like, oh, great, a day off, and in the middle of this snowstorm, these guys are like pushing the snow. And I was just like, you have to give them some credit because I couldn't even see. Not that they were pushing the snow with their hands, they had trucks, right? But just to give a shout out to the working, I don't think they're working class. I think they're more like middle class, but whatever, like working class guys, shout out, so that's something I wanted to do. And that's it. It's 30 minutes. I promise 30 minutes, no more than 30 minutes. So guys, I'm going to keep track of my job search. That's what I want to do. I want to get into event planning. I want to be an event coordinator. I'm thinking either government or event planning for the government or event planning for a corporation. And I'm thinking to get baptized back into my field, I have to go into the restaurant industry to lay the groundwork in 3 areas: food, beverage, and hospitality, which is knowing your clients, building relationships with your clients, maintaining relationships with your clients, and getting a feel for, all the dynamics, ins and outs, the negotiations, the food pricing, fixing, all these kinds of things, build setups and set breakdowns, vendor relationships, contracts, invoices, all these things. So I came to the conclusion, back to the restaurant industry. And a lot of people are telling me, no, Renata, you can't go back. It's a step backwards. No, not for me. It's a step forward. I want to do that. So guys, follow me on my job search blog and I'll give you updates. So tomorrow I'll be back and let you know what's going on. Okay. Thanks. And I still have not figured out how on earth. Okay. It says here, okay, I'll be quick. It says that that's the chat room. But whenever I say hi in the chat room, no one answers. How do I get feedback in the chat room? I mean, hello? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, guys. So that's just my 30-minute rant about me looking for work in the restaurant industry. And guys, follow me as I do my job search in the restaurant industry. I love you. Okay. And to the middle class, working class people, here's one for you. Love you. Bye.